New York City Mayor Eric Adams blames rats. Yes, rats. As a big reason for New Yorkers fleeing the state in droves. Yesterday, I talked about how California had the greatest out-migration of nearly 1.2 million people. Texas and Florida, the biggest in-migrations, people coming into the state. Well, New York City itself, it's got a rat problem, but more importantly, it's got a population leaving the city, and rats are what we're going with. Not the fact that it's been just wildly misrun, not the fact that it's got an immigration problem like there's no tomorrow. Crime has gone through the roof. We're going to blame rats. Let's get into it. Here we go. Somebody said the other day, if you don't show pictures or a video, did it even really happen? Well, yeah, because a news story said it happened. We believe everything on the internet, right? On the interweb. I mean, you just got to go with what you know, right? So let's play a little video. That being said, let's play just a scooch of a video. Here we go.
Of reasons that there's a perfect storm of reasons that cities are losing their population. And at one time, you may have lost 20,000 here, 15,000 here. But now when you start to add up all of those dynamics, it's a different way of life. And some people who have children and families decide they want to go to a place where their children can play outdoors, larger green spaces. You want to see animals. You don't see too many animals, but rats in New York. And so, so there's a combination of things. And
everybody's laughing. He said rats. Yeah, what are you doing? He brought it up. He said rats. He went into some more there, but he's trying to blame major systemic problems in New York City on something that's just so ridiculous as rats. Mayor Eric Adams, his approval rating right now is 28%. It's the lowest in 13 years. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Mayor Eric Adams blamed rats along with the cost of living. How about that? Cost of living and COVID-19 as big reasons why New Yorkers are fleeing the state in droves, according to a recent report he said Thursday. COVID-19, I think, just brought to the surface many of the issues that the big urban cities are having. And people were like, yeah, if I have to hunker down and live in my building, whatever that is, big vertical building in New York City, I don't really want to do that. So I'm out of here. So some of these, state of California, massive exodus relative to how many folks they used to be bringing in, right? New York City, not shocking that they're having an exodus as well. But, all of these cities have some major issues going on. And we're hearing just varying levels of excuses because when it comes right down to it, a lot of them have the same consistency. They're wildly expensive, way overtaxed. Quality of living isn't what it used to be. And there's other opportunities. So there's other states, there's other cities that people are going to in droves. Idaho was brought up this morning in today's premiere. People are just going to Idaho all day long because they don't put up with any of this nonsense. Is there a cause and effect there? I mean, is there something to be said there for not having the shenanigans that New York City has? Hisner pointed the finger at the Big Apple's notorious rodent population. After sobering new United States Census Bureau statistics revealed nearly 102,000 people had hightailed it out of the Empire State within the last year. That's just in the last year. I mean, these numbers are, not shocking because you've got budget deficits that are happening. And yet at the same time, Eric Adams is basically saying, hey, we're going to have to whack the budget 5% across the board because we've taken on too many illegal immigrants. And folks left in New York City are like, wait a minute. What about us? We've been here the whole time paying for all this stuff. And now you're going to whack our services. You're going to whack the police budget. You got a little pushback on that. Just a little scooch of a pushback there. Some people who have children and families decide they want to go to a place where their children can play outdoors, larger green spaces. You want to see animals? You don't see animals except for rats in New York, Adam said, and we heard him say this when asked about the plunging population data. So there's a combination of things. Okay. Did he really just come right out and say, and we are getting rid of those rats, by the way? He's the rat czar. He is going after rats like there's no tomorrow because, it couldn't be his leadership style where he's just jumping from one topic to the next. And, hey, bring your illegal immigrants in here by bus. We love them. He gets that photo op. And then all of a sudden, wait a minute, we've got a budget that is just upside down here. Could you guys not send any more buses up to us here in New York City? Would you mind not doing that? And then he's screaming at President Biden, you got to help us out here. Things are going sideways. We need more money. So there's a combination of things he said, adding that we are getting rid of those rats. The mayor, who has repeatedly declared, I hate rats, said he confessed to being fixated on killing them, has long waged a war against his old foe. Rats, are they a problem? They've always been a problem in New York City, right? Always been a problem. It's always a thing. You've got that urban decay. You've got that big city garbage urban decay problem. It's always been there. But that's not one of the, that's probably what on the list of priorities of why people are leaving. Rats, that's not way up there. You would have cost of living, cost of rent. You would have political misdirection. You would have shenanigans all day long. Crime would be a huge one. What happens when you take leadership in such a direction and people don't want to be cops, and you have literally thousands and thousands of police officers leave the New York City Police Department? What happens then? Yeah, interesting. Well, anyway, let's blame the rats, because the rats are the reason for all these shenanigans, right? And tomfoolery. You can't forget that. The mayor, he's even gone as far as establishing the city's first ever rat czar to help stamp out Gotham's pesky vermin population. Yeah, you've got a physical structure in New York City that it just lends itself to rats, right? It just does. It's so gross. Just like, oh, no thanks. Still, Adams, who insisted Thursday that the city was still working to eliminate the vermin problems, acknowledged that the skyrocketing cost of living could also be to blame for the recent net decline in residents. You think? Come on now. See, it was interesting to hear Governor Newsom's spin, and I haven't heard him talk directly about the population that his state has lost, but he often cites, hey, job growth. We're doing a lot of jobs here in California. Yeah, but you got a $68 billion deficit. How's that working out for you? Lots of jobs, big deficit. Because you've had, literally over 1 million people leave the state of New York. And like the article I read yesterday, if you were to tell me 15 years ago that Texas and Florida would be taking California's population, you'd say, why? How come? What do you mean? And now it's just become wildly clear, right? I still have people here in Washington State. Yeah, I don't get why they're moving to Florida. I don't get the whole Texas thing. It's great here. Those are the same people like, there's no crime. What are you talking about? There's no crime in Seattle. There's no crime. Just if you put your head in the sand for long enough, you just won't recognize what's going on. Seattle's got crime. We've got some gangbangers just shooting people up here in Seattle. Yeah, we really do. I think there's a combination of why people are leaving. The cities have become unaffordable. And, people who left the city during COVID for a short period of time, and some decided that they no longer want to come back into cities, Adam said. Well, it's interesting. You could say that about people working in downtown and in Florida and the downtowns in Texas, but you know what? They're not leaving. So, this whole narrative of, what we're talking about there, the big two examples are New York City and San Francisco, as far as big companies and employees basically just leaving in droves and have not come back. It's because you got a job situation in San Francisco, and then you've got a vertical real estate situation in New York City where people are like, all right, if I have to put up with all this other crap, including rats, shenanigans, I'm out of here. If we're working from home forever, like we said we were, did anybody really believe that? Did anybody in their heart of heart believes you're going to work from home forever? I've been railing against it since day one, right? It's just like, that's not going to happen long term. All these news reports, the history of, or the future of commercial real estate in the downtown core is forever changed. Well, it was, but now it's cycling back. Boeing here recently said, we're going to need you back in the office 5 days a week. 5 days a week, not 3, not 4, 5. Come on back, guys. Come on back. You're going to love it. We're going to have team meetings. We're going to have lunch on Thursdays. It's going to be the best, just like the pre-COVID days. You also have the whole remote work option where you don't have to be in an office space to do the job. You can do it from wherever. And so there's a perfect storm of reasons that cities are losing their population. No, some cities are gaining. Some cities, literally, this story is about some cities gaining. Most notably, Texas and Florida being the states with cities that are gaining. Interesting. That's weird. Yeah, it must be the rats. Let's just go with rats because, rats. My rat story, my one gross rat story, I had a rental. I called it rental number 2. And it was a daylight basement home. It was 5 bedrooms. It was a great rental home. And, the tenant called and said, "Hey, Sean, the dishwasher is leaking." And I was like, "Oh, that's not good." Well, so I had called up my contractor and he was going to swap it out with another one. I bought the dishwasher. He came in and, he was pulling it out and he goes, "Hey, Sean, come over here." He made sure the tenant wasn't there. And he goes, "Take a look at this." And we looked at the back side of the fiberglass of where the water goes in the dishwasher. Yeah. Rats had eaten through it. It was so gross. I'm like, oh, that's not good. Maybe don't let the tenant see that. And, we had to work through a rat problem in that home for quite some time. Ended up finding out they were coming through a power line, I think, that went up to where the chimney was and then down, and power line came into the house. They came across that, and then there was a hole up there somewhere where the chimney was, and they're just getting in the house, just had full run of the house. Pretty gross. Rats, right? At one time, you may have lost, 20,000 here, 15,000 here. And now when you start to add up all those dynamics, it's a different way of life. Well, where are those people going? They're going somewhere. They don't just disappear, right? They don't just gone. No, but they go somewhere, right? Where are they going? They're not going to blue cities. They're not going to blue states. That's the bottom line. Huh, weird. I wonder why. Because they have choices and they're making them? Yeah. Anyway, the mayor suggested that the relentless influx of migrants that keep pouring into the city could help turn the abysmal figures around. From what I am hearing is that those folks are getting out of New York City as fast as they can. As fast as they can. That's what they're doing, because there's no real opportunity left for them. It's been so overrun. Population has been so overrun with the migrants in New York City because Greg Abbott has done just a stellar job of just send those buses, keep those buses going. And now since Chicago, which is a self-described, self-proclaimed sanctuary city, it's not so big on the sanctuary anymore. In fact, it's not really doing that. In fact, it's arresting bus drivers and impounding buses and basically just, do a little pushback on the buses coming into Chicago. So Greg Abbott is sending them on a plane. Yeah. All right. Just drop them off there. Just drop them off at the airport. They'll figure it out. I mean, this is where we kind of sit, right? This big back and forth because there's zero border policy that keeps folks in check at the southern border. We don't want people to leave, but people also moving into the city, he said. Yeah, but more are leaving. That's the whole out migration. They're leaving. Yeah, they're going out, not in, out. You know, I'll see first-time New Yorkers over and over again. People are moving in, and they have. Well, yeah, but the problem is more left. That's the whole net thing. You're talking gross coming in. Yep, there's some of that, but net, you know, that whole, you add a negative number to a positive number, and whichever one is most is going to dictate whether it's positive or negative. 152,000 migrants. We give them a job. They become workers. They become part of our economy, like other immigrant groups have become part of our economy. Okay, so what direction are we going here? What are we even identifying? What are we talking about rats? Are we talking about immigrants coming? I mean, what's going on? New York was just one of 8 states to face a decline in residents between July of 2022 to July of 2023, the census report found, while red states like Texas and Florida saw large spikes in population growth. That's the whole part that I think everybody has recognized. And they're like, oh, yeah. Hey now, why is that? Yeah, because you're leaving these cities that are so poorly run, that have been allowed to devolve into a lot of what Seattle's got going on, which is just live whatever life style you want, live in a tent, do some drugs, it's all good, it'll be fine. And then Target closes up shop, and then CNBC says, oh no, it's not because of the crime, it's because of some nefarious, corporate doublespeak. They're not doing what they're saying they're doing. They're not closing down because of the crime, because these other stores are still staying open, and who knows, right? I mean, bottom line is, if you had a city where things were well run, people be coming in, rats notwithstanding. Same thing with Target. If they were making money at those stores and shoplifting and crazy incidents of safety impacting their employees and customers and management and vendors, if there wasn't these crazy examples of people going wild in the stores, then it wouldn't be an issue. They wouldn't be closing the store down, because they don't typically close stores down that make money. Yeah. That's tough, right? New York's population tallied approximately 19,571,000 as of July 1st, which is down from roughly 19,673,000 residents 12 months earlier. You might say, well, that's not that much. That's a pretty good sized number. When you are looking at how badly the budgets are in these big cities, and you've got a net out migration, yeah, it impacts things immensely. And that's why I think you got a situation where the mayor in New York City has got the lowest approval rating in years and years and years, because he just flits from one kind of thing to the other and doesn't provide any real leadership. Hey, tell us why. Tell us why something that we can believe, because the reasons you've given here, including rats, they don't really cut it. But you got to have a bunch of doublespeak, because then the constituents that brought you into office are like, oh yeah, okay, I mean, it's rats and that whole work from home thing, and there's some other factors in there. People like to go outside. In New York City, there's not a lot of place to go outside. But they seem to be going outside in Texas and Florida pretty consistently, right? That's happening pretty consistently. So what is going on there? Yeah, everybody knows the drill. But let's blame rats, because, rats. Nobody likes a rat. California suffered the biggest population blow after New York, with a net decrease of almost 75,500, the data shows. Meanwhile, Texas and Florida added 473,000 and 365,000. That's in the last year. The numbers I was giving were where California lost over 1.2 million people. That's a 3-year running average. I mean, so these numbers are consistent. They're like, just, okay, there's a lot of people leaving and they're going somewhere. Yeah, they're going to red states. Interesting. Weird. Some fed up lawmakers and ex-New Yorkers were quick to blame the Empire State's decline of crime And the high cost of, yeah, that makes a lot more sense than rats, doesn't it? But hey, let's just throw a little diversionary thing and we'll talk about some vermin that nobody likes and blame it on that. People are getting sick of it. The lawlessness, the protests and transit hubs. Yeah. The stuff I see in New York City, the stuff I see in Seattle. It's like, are you really doing another protest? You realize that the location you're protesting about is like 7,000 miles away. What are you doing? Oh, yeah. Crazy, right? Young families no longer see this as a place to raise their children. Retired New York Police Department Lieutenant John McCary, who was born in Brooklyn but fled to Florida last year, told the Post. Criminals and migrants are being put ahead of everybody, everyday New Yorkers. As long as that continues, more people are going to flee. And that's the exact same situation you've got in Chicago, where you're just taking on too many people and you don't have the budget for it. But because you want a virtue signal, hey, we're a sanctuary city, things are great here. It's not happening. The reality is that folks know that there's some real issues going on in New York City. Rats, way down the list of priorities. But nobody likes a rat, so let's just blame that because, why wouldn't you? Yeah, crazy. No, there's no point in going with honesty. It really isn't. No point in going with honesty. You just got to go with, well, this is something I can push out and people will believe me. Yeah. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. We'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.